Hello and welcome to Gatecrashers. And I know I'm a little bit dark on the screen because the sun's behind me, but I wanted you to see this beautiful sea that I've got behind me here. And I'm going to be back in England soon enough. So I'm sharing India with you while I still have it. So, Gatecrashers. And today we are looking at Gate 21 and we are meeting Vivienne. Vivienne, who is known to say, my way or the highway. Vivienne has been in charge of things since approximately the age of 3. This was not something she had decided. It was simply something she had noticed. Someone had to make sure that the sandpit was properly allocated, that the juice cups were distributed according to strict rotation, and that the afternoon's activities had some semblance of order to them. Nobody else appeared to be doing it, so Vivienne did. 40-something years later, the sandpit had been replaced by her household, her team, and a social circle that had, to a person, learned to check in with Vivienne before making plans that involved shared resources, shared space, or anything that could be reasonably described as the groups. Not because they'd been told to, but because experience had taught them that Vivienne would already have a position on the matter, that the position would be clear, and that things tended to go better when it was taken into account. Vivienne walked into a room the way a ship's captain walks onto a bridge. Not dramatically, not announcing anything, just with a quality of presence that immediately began cataloguing what the tribe had, what it needed, and what it was going to be done, so that the group had, between this and that, a meeting. It had enough resources, not too many, but it had enough. And Vivienne couldn't help it. It happened before she even put her bag down. Vivienne's approach to any situation that she was responsible for was naturally a masterpiece of controlled intention. She knew the state of the budget before the accountant did. She knew which relationships needed managing, which alliances were fraying, which member of the team was about to hand in their notice approximately 3 weeks before they knew it for themselves. This was not surveillance. This was hunting, the modern version of hunting, a little quieter, a little less dramatic, no actual spears most of the time, but hunting nonetheless. Tracking what the tribe required, securing it, making sure everyone had enough. The tribe eats because the hunter hunts. The tribe is safe because the hunter has already assessed the territory, while everyone else was still finishing breakfast. Vivienne's colleagues had various ways of describing this, depending on whether she was in earshot or not. When she wasn't around, they would say, "Phew, she's a lot." But when she was within earshot, they would say, "Wow, Vivienne's incredibly across everything." And both were true. The thing that most people misunderstood about Vivienne, and people did misunderstand her regularly, which she had filed under the inevitable consequences of operating at this frequency, was that the control was never about Vivienne. That was the part that got lost. That was the part that turned a gift into a reputation. Vivienne controlled things because Vivienne could see things. She could see the territory, who held it, who was encroaching on it, whether it had been used correctly and to its full potential. She could see the resources, what the group had, what it still required, where things were leaking away through inattention or through the poor decisions made by people who hadn't looked at the whole picture. She could see with a clarity that occasionally startled even her exactly what needed to happen to make sure the tribe didn't just survive, but prevailed. Vivienne was, in the oldest and most literal sense, a hunter. Not predatory, but purposeful, tracking what was required, moving towards it efficiently, and bringing it back home. It should be said, in fairness, that not every Vivienne carries this energy in quite the same way. There is another kind, and if you know one, you will recognize them immediately. This Vivienne controls not from the sure-footed authority of someone who knows what the tribe needs, but from a grip that has tightened over time into something harder to name. The resources are hoarded rather than distributed. The territory is defended rather than shared. The control is turned inward. Things are mine rather than ours. You know, they're not so concerned with the tribe's well-being. This Vivienne is not wrong about needing to be in control. The mechanic is the same. The ego-backed authority is the same. But somewhere along the way, the tribe got lost from the equation, and what remained was just the power, circling itself, controlling itself. The difference is not always obvious from the outside. Both Viviennes are formidable. Both are certain, but one of them, if you look carefully, is always moving towards something. Provision, stability, enough for everyone, while the other is moving away from something, away from scarcity, away from vulnerability, away from the particular terror of a hunter who fears one day the prey just won't come. One serves the tribe, the other has forgotten what the tribe is for. Our Vivienne's particular difficulty, and she would not have called it a difficulty, she would have called it an area for development, because Vivienne was very precise about language too. And this area was the informing, not the controlling. She had that bit absolutely covered. Not the providing, because the tribe was prevailing. It was the telling people what she was about to do that occasionally, somehow, got missed in the momentum of simply doing it. Vivienne could move fast. Vivienne saw what was required, and she went toward it with the directness of someone who never really understood why you would see a problem and then think about it, rather than just solve it. By the time it occurred to her that other people might benefit from knowing what was happening, it had usually already happened. The restructure had been implemented, the budget had been reallocated. The alliance that had been quietly undermining the team's effectiveness for 2 years had, with surgical precision, been dissolved. "I thought you'd be pleased," Vivienne had said on that last occasion with genuine bewilderment. "I am pleased," her deputy had said, with an expression that contained several emotions, all arriving simultaneously. "I just would have liked to have known." Vivienne thought about this for longer than she let on. The shift came on a Tuesday, unremarkably, over a phone call. Her sister, whose organization was in crisis, was worried. Her board was fractious, and her resources were hemorrhaging in 3 different directions simultaneously. And she had not called to ask for help, but simply because she needed to tell someone. Vivienne had listened for approximately 45 seconds and said, "I'll call you back in 10 minutes. And then she made 3 calls, pulled in 2 favors, and had an emergency board meeting convened by the time she rang her sister back. "You didn't have to do all that," her sister said. "Oh, yes, I did," Vivienne replied, which for her was true. "Well, thank you. Really?" But next time, can't you just tell me what you're going to do before you do it? So I know what's happening, so I'm not on the back foot. Vivienne opened her mouth, closed her mouth again. And then she said, "You want me to inform you?" "Yes, just that, yes." It was, Vivienne later reflected, a remarkably small thing to ask. She had been so focused on the doing, on the provision, the fix, the result, that she'd somehow skipped the part where the other person in the situation was kept in the picture. She hadn't needed permission. She hadn't needed to be invited or asked or recognized. She just needed to say, "Here, this is what I'm going to do." 3 seconds, possibly 4. And in return, because this was the other thing Vivienne slowly began to understand, in return, she could ask the same. "Tell me what you need. Tell me what's happening. Inform me so that I can do my job properly." It turned out that being informed as well as informing made everything considerably more effective, which for Vivienne was more than sufficient motivation. Gate 21 lives in the ego center, the only motor in the human design system connected to genuine, sustained will. It sits in tribal circuitry in the channel of materialism, channel of manifestation, with gate 45 at the end, the tribal ruler. Together they are sometimes called the money line, and it's not because of greed, it's because of provision, the material conditions for a life well lived: food, shelter, territory, education, enoughness. This is the only gate in the system designed to control. And that design is backed by something real, by genuine authority, by the capacity to see what the tribe needs and the will to go and get it. When it operates correctly, this is one of the most powerful and genuinely useful energies in the entire wheel. But Gate 21 carries a particular responsibility that comes with that power. The tribe needs to know what the hunter is doing, not to approve it or to vote on it, just to know, just to be informed. This is the thing that separates a hunter from a force that moves through people's lives, reorganizing things without any warning. And the hunter, in turn, needs to know what's going on, what's the state of the territory, what are the needs of the tribe, the things that are shifting in the world that the hunter moves through. A hunter who operates in isolation from the tribe they serve eventually starts hunting solely for themselves. The control is correct. The authority is real. The provision is a gift. Conversation is what can help it all land. Vivienne still has her system, obviously. The territory is mapped, the resources are tracked, and the alliance that was undermining the team has not been permitted to reconstitute itself. The tribe is prevailing. This has not changed and will not change, because it is, at the most fundamental level, who Vivienne is. But these days, before Vivienne does the thing, Vivienne says the thing. "I'm going to restructure the department. I'm reallocating the budget, and here's why. There's a problem with the board and I'm handling it, and this is my plan." Small sentences, barely any words really, and yet something in the room shifts when she says them. A quality of ease, of people leaning in rather than just being constantly braced. The tribe feels it, even if they can't explain why. The hunter has told them she's going out. And somehow, knowing she's coming back with something to support the tribe makes all the difference in the world. Thank you for joining me with this Gatecrashers. Yeah, hope you're enjoying this. Have you seen the birds go by? There are eagles and kites, and they're a bit different from the blackbirds I used to have back in the day in the first time I went round the wheel. We have eagles and hawks here. Generally not when I'm recording anything though, so there you go. So thank you for joining me with Gate 21. I'll be back for the next one in a few days. And until then, as always, love yourself wildly and go gently.